The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Variety Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericavariety.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
The Light Within Radio program is in no way intended as an alternative to medical treatment or follow-up care, nor should it be regarded as a substitute for individual professional consultation. Personal advice is not available on the program. Application of the principles discussed are at the discretion of our listeners.
Welcome to The Light Within, Awakening the Inner Healer. Your host is Joan Jacobs, who has spent a quarter century as a clinical healer, educator, author, and speaker. Learn how to awaken your inner power to heal. Now, here's Joan Jacobs.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Light Within, Awakening the Inner Healer. I'm your host, Joan Jacobs. Today, we're going to be talking about the homeopathic treatment of psychiatric conditions. I personally find that extremely intriguing because basically, in most cases, psychiatric medications don't really cure the conditions they're prescribed for, but rather silence the symptoms. From a holistic perspective, psychiatric conditions, just as other physical conditions, originate in derangement of the vital force, that which animates the physical body. Therefore, healing these conditions must involve addressing the core source, which lies in the energy field. In my experience, not every holistic healer will or should take on the treatment of psychiatric conditions, and the fact that there are those that specialize in treating these situations is definitely something I want to bring forth and talk about. My guest today is Dr. Mahesh Gandhi, who is known worldwide for his expertise in homeopathy and psychiatry. He has taught in hospitals and medical colleges for almost 10 years. He is a former honorary and head of psychiatric department in prestigious medical college in Bombay, but resigned to pursue his interest in homeopathy. Closely associated with Dr. Rajan Shankaran, he has been a speaker in many of Shankaran's homeopathy seminars for Indian and foreign students. Due to his background in psychiatry, he has homeopathically treated many psychiatric cases, giving him tremendous insight into the homeopathic treatment of these cases. He has instructed seminars on this topic in the U.S., Israel, Australia, Bulgaria, Croatia, Serbia, South Africa, New Zealand, Russia, Japan, Spain, the Netherlands, and Germany. He is currently in the process of writing a book about his experience, especially in the field of homeopathic psychiatry. Hello, Dr. Gandhi, and welcome to the Light Within show.
Yes, I'm very pleased and very happy to be here on this show.
You're calling in all the way from India.
Yes, I am.
That's really exciting. I want to start the interview, Dr. Gandhi, asking about how you got involved in homeopathy. What made you leave traditional psychiatry and embrace the homeopathic approach?
I was always psychologically minded, and that is why when I took up medical profession, I went for psychiatry because I would like to know, I always was interested in knowing the person and going into the depths of the person. But when I joined psychiatry, I was a little disillusioned because by then the model which they were practicing was a very medical model, and the approach was very biological. Most of the problems were seen as resulting from some disturbances in the neurotransmitters of the brain, and people were just made into, the brain was seen like a computer and we have to readjust all those neurotransmitters, and we've lost the human touch. We were seeing patients like machines. It's like you take a car to the garage. It's like somebody comes to you in your clinic and then you say, okay, you have delusions, you have hallucinations, well, that means you got schizophrenia and then you need treatment. And the patient tries to talk a little about his life and what's happening to him, but this is just pushed aside.
Mm. And that basically was based on the treatment with medication.
Yes, and then what happens was that we do not really touch the person. Now let us study a little bit about the history of psychiatry. Psychiatry
Yes.
was the last field to join the medical faculty. And it began with psychotherapy, psychoanalysis with people like Freud and his contemporaries. But what happened was he came up with wonderful ideas of all the intrapsychic things happening in an individual, what is really happening into his mind. They came up with the model of the egos, superego, id. It all sounded very nice. But when it came to treatment, the results were not really very encouraging. For many years, patients have to go daily, go on talking, and at the end of 3-4 years, you may or may not improve. And then also you need the patient to be very psychologically minded, who has to be very cooperative. It's a very expensive procedure. So it was not really for everybody. So what happened in 1950s, the first drug was introduced in psychiatry and it was chlorpromazine. And that made a big difference. Suddenly we could see that patient symptoms were improving. And then from then, many drugs came up, antipsychotic drugs, antidepressant drugs. So people they gave up the whole psychological approach and became more and more biologically oriented. And then they were only thinking of which neurotransmitters need to be treated. So there was this complete discrepancy. First, complete psychological approach, and then there's a complete medical approach. Homeopathy somewhere comes in between. We take all the knowledge we have from the psychological approach, what is going in intrapsychic, whatever is happening to the patient, but where psychoanalytical approach did not have an answer to it, we have an answer. By giving those safe homeopathic pills, we could bring about a lot of change in the patient. So we don't have to resort to many of these medications which the patient are taking because of their psychiatric problem. And also we are more humanistic. We approach the person, we see the patient. It's very important to know one thing, that biological factors, though improve as you began the talk, and you said in your introduction that it does not treat the cause, but it treats the symptoms. Mm-hmm. This is very true, because whatever these neurotransmitters and whatever changes are happening, they are not really the cause, but it is a result of something deeper. And we don't go internally to see what is really happening.
Well, you know what? Maybe we should give the listeners just a very brief of the basic principles of homeopathy, because for somebody who's not familiar with homeopathy, it may sound very similar. Here you're giving a medication and here you're giving a remedy. And it's important to me that the listeners understand that when you prescribe a homeopathic remedy, it's not working in the same way. It's not creating the same type of process as a chemical medication.
Yes, but first of all, it's an energetic medicine. It is like putting one drop of that medicine in a big ocean in a big lake, and you can see the amount of dilution. So when you give homeopathic medicine, there is no real physical material medicine. It is just energetic medicine because it is diluted. So we have to know a little bit about philosophy. The more you dilute the medicines, the stronger it becomes, the more potentized. It is like everything in this world, whether it be a mineral or a plant or an animal, have a healing potential. And we are tapping that particular healing potential of that particular substance in this universe. And by diluting it, we take the most deepest core of that particular substance and use it for treatment. And this concept might look a little alien to the West, but it was always known in the East. We have these Chinese medicines where we use this. Also in Ayurveda, we have this whole concept of prana. Prana is the energetic medicine, where because we believe that all our physical body is a result of something much more deeper inside, and which is the subtle body. Now this concept of subtle body and the vital force and prana is somehow missing in the West. But we believe that our inside creates the outside. So if you treat the inside, automatically you're treating the person outside. So in homeopathy, in a way, we do not treat an illness, but we treat the person. This is very important. So when a person, let's say, comes with depression, so we are more interested in knowing who is this person who is suffering from depression. What is his constitution? How he thinks, what he feels, what are his complexes, what are his delusions, how he relates to the world, how he sees the world. And then automatically his depression is understood. And it's a holistic science. So when you treat mentally, even physical symptoms become all right. Like for example, if somebody comes with depression and you treat him with homeopathy, and then he says, my depression is all right, but I also had joint pains. My joint pains also have gone away. And vice versa, when you treat somebody for a physical problem, even mentally they start feeling much calm, there is a sense of ease, and they start feeling much better because they are more connected to themselves within.
So actually what you're saying is that in traditional psychiatry, there's a high chance of people with the same condition getting the same medication. But in homeopathy, if you have 100 patients with depression, they could conceivably each receive a totally different remedy.
Exactly, because homeopathy is individualized. It is tailor-made. It is not the ready-made where you have to fit in. But it is tailor-made for every individual. So if I have 10 patients of depression, each one will get different remedy because we are studying the person. Who is that person behind? And we understand the whole person. So homeopathy helps in many ways. First of all, when you relate to a person at such a deep level, that itself is a very healing process. Not necessarily only that. And then you give some remedy which will help him heal from within, and it makes a very big difference. What happens with the medical model, let's say you give some medicine for depression and it works on serotonin or whatever, but we don't know what are the effects. They say that they have done a lot of laboratory things and over a period of time, they have checked it and found that it is very safe. But it is not necessarily so. Many times we know about some drugs which have been called safe, but over a period of time we have found that they have a lot of side effects. We don't know what those drugs can be doing to various parts of our body. Because when you take a physical medicine, it does not go only into the brain, into that specific synapse where it needs to act. It will go into the liver, it will go into the kidney, it touches your eyes, it goes into your intestines. So you have a lot of side effects. Whereas homeopathy is energetic medicine, there is no real material substance in it. So it cannot cause any side effects. And the person does not feel drugged. So,
of course, you're addressing the whole person, which is a huge advantage.
Exactly.
On that note, Dr. Gandhi, we have to take our first break, and we're definitely going to keep on talking about that and going into more detail right after the break. People, stay with us. We'll be right back.